Hello.
Hey.
Oh my gosh, how long has it been?
I feel like this is season 2.
We had like 4 episodes last time. We're back.
And we are ready to come at it. I think we needed the summer off.
Yeah, that's actually true. Not even kidding.
No, it was definitely... We needed the summer off to decide... I think we just needed to live to have some things to talk about.
Literally. We're like clutching straws, honestly.
Yeah, and I feel like when you force something,
Yeah.
try to make it work and it's not meant to be going, just stop doing it.
Yeah.
Which I'm really bad at.
Yeah. Well, welcome back to... Oh my gosh, I just started.
Having a yarn.
With Catherine and Bronwyn.
Hello.
Hello, we're now, or video version now, so if you go on YouTube, look up Having a Yarn YouTube channel, you will see us IRL.
Which is crazy because you tried to do this before and didn't know the technology, and then all of a sudden I was messaging you, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And you figured it out, so it was all like the stars were aligning.
Well, I figured this out ages ago because I'm like, how the fuck does I don't want blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I figured it out ages ago. And then I was like with Liam doing like a fake podcast and you were like, how did you figure that out? I'm like, I figured it out. It just glitched. Okay. In my headphones. Anyway, sorry for going on a little tangent. What's our topic for today?
I think the overall arching topic is going to be connecting with your body, getting out of your head and listening to your body. Mm-hmm. You're going to talk about...
Yeah, recently I've been in therapy. It's taken me so long to start. Bronwyn's been like, hey, can you start therapy? And I've been on that journey, and with that journey it's learning how to get out of your head and get in touch with your body and actually feel how you're going and not just thinking about how you're going, like feeling everything.
And we're both air signs, aren't we?
I'm a water sign.
Okay, so I'm air and...
I'm air rising and air...
Apparently air rising, like how you come out to the world is like more important because it's how you're...
seen by others or coming out. Yeah, I'm an Aquarius rising, which you're an Aquarius sun.
I'm an Aquarius sun and Sagittarius rising, but getting in my head is my biggest issue that I've had to overcome. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to talk about nervous system, regulation. I did not know what that meant until I started doing a workshop in Newcastle with Meg. Mm-hmm. I'll tag her below because she's written a book. She's amazing. And the workshop's called Nervous System and Rewriting Your Past or Rewriting. And I've been doing that, and I've been doing nervous system things, which has been really, really helpful. In fact, I found it extremely overwhelming because I'm so not used to tapping into my body. It's caused a lot of issues for myself.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about, what was the...
I don't know, we'll figure it out. We'll just have a yarn and we'll just see where we are. But as I stated with my therapy journey, I've been going to therapy through SIDS Australia, which is an organisation that helps people that have had kids, or Red Nose Australia. And it's essentially like free counselling for anyone that has lost children or family members that have lost children. And through that, I found a really good therapist, because I've had issues with therapy before where I've been and they don't fucking say anything, or they're like, okay, how does that make you
talk
feel?
Therapy.
It's so mundane and stupid, and I hate it. Every time I had to go there, like my body ran cold and I'd get the shivers and I'd lock up. Like I was so hypervigilant about it. I hated it so much. And then I've been going to this therapist, which is so
What
amazing.
made you decide to go to Red Nose?
I actually didn't know that it was free, originally. I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of annoying that I have to pay for that every week. And then you were like, no, it's free. I'm like, oh wait, okay. So I'm so grateful. Not many people get to have free therapy, and especially even find a therapist the first time that actually works for them. at this stage of my life, my therapist really helps me. We do a lot of non-speech therapy. What is it called? Non-talk therapy?
It's called like RMT, or there is actually a word for it.
Yeah, and it actually works really well with people that are not neurotypical. Like, neurotypical people usually find that talk therapy like gets the load off their shoulders and like helps them. But I'm like, I don't feel like that. Mm-mm. That doesn't happen to me when I go into talk therapy. I just like have to lie essentially, and with that, I've been learning to sit within myself, because every time we talk in therapy and she would ask me questions, she'd be like, okay, let's go back to that time that you felt like that. What was the first time that you felt like that? And I'd think that I'd have to draw a physical picture in my head of like where I am and pretend I'm there and do all that stuff, like basically leave my body and like go to this like place. And like make it up. And I was just so in my logical head about it, because she was like, okay, now walk into an elevator. Now you're going to get older. Now, blah, blah, blah. And she would like take me step by step. And in my logical brain, I was like having to imagine everything that she was saying. Yeah, it was like so much work. And I was like, and then I told her the next week, I was like, that didn't feel good. Like, I didn't feel good about that. And then only just in my literal last session, I realized that it was because I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Like, I was in my head thinking about it, and that's obviously not the way to go about it, because, bro, your brain fucking talks all this shit to you all the time.
And memories aren't, they're not accurate.
No.
The body has all the memories stored inside it from past lifetimes, from childhood, that your brain just doesn't remember. So going into a memory is going to be like distorted because you're going to have the emotions that you had at that time attached to it. So it's going to be not a true accurate of events.
It's false memory, yeah.
So using it is a waste of time.
Yeah. And when I just did my last therapy session, that was like the first time that I felt like, oh, okay, this is actually working. Like, actually, like when she would ask me the questions about like where you are, instead of thinking like I'm at Woolworths or I'm here, I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm in a little box, and the box is so tiny, it's like a centimeter big. Like, it's stuff that my brain would be like, that's so dumb.
Doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make any sense. But that's what my body felt. My body felt that I was in this, and I was talking about it. And when we went through the therapy, I like told her how I felt after, and she goes, that's really good. You're like getting older and you're making changes and doing all this stuff. So, and that was what I was telling you like a couple of weeks ago, that I was like, this therapy is like not working. And you're like, yeah, you're doing it wrong. You're like, yeah, you're thinking. Stop thinking. Stop using your brain. And that's sort of what I had to
explain to you what the actual therapy is trying to do.
Yeah.
And explain to you that it's about not letting your mind run the show and letting your body answer the question, and let the questions come up without you saying, I don't understand that, because you don't need to understand it. Your body will explain it all to you. And I had to explain to you, this is what you need to be doing. And you were like, oh.
But I was like, she could have told me that. Because she, like, told you that, because we've had the same therapist. She's had her for, like, 2 years. And
she didn't tell me that.
Oh, she didn't?
No.
The fuck?
I just...
had to learn.
I just, like, I kind of throw myself into things. Good thing and bad thing. It works out positive in my favour. But I'll just throw myself right in there, and I let everything kind of go. Which is great in some ways for that. But in other ways, sometimes I got to trust my own intuition. So
yeah, and now like every day, like I sit in my, like as in when I'm like doing something, I'll be like, okay, what do you want to do? And I like sit in my intuition, and like even if it's just like dumb things of like, what lettuce should I buy? Like, it just like listening, like just day-to-day task of like tapping into your intuition and like learning to tap into it more. And you, because majority of the time you don't need your brain.
No,
your brain doesn't actually, like, unless you like need it to like set up this podcast, like you don't need your brain like majority of the time. Like, what do you want to eat?
Yeah,
where do you want to do today? Like, that's all your intuition, that's not your brain.
Yeah.
So well, I'm just like learning to tap into that more, and that's sort of, you're learning to do that as well, I guess.
Well, the funny thing is I've actually been doing it for a long time, but like tapping into my body, like with that therapy, because I started doing therapy 2 years ago, and so I've been doing like inner child work and tapping in, but I think, yeah, that's it. I think.
Well, yeah, I think you're thinking about not thinking, which is so funny because every time Bronwyn runs into a problem, it's because she's done the work, but she's circled back because you're like...
I go back. So basically what I do is I figure out the answer, and then the next day I go right back to the old way of doing things.
Yeah.
So I cycle in and out. So I know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
But I don't stay there long enough.
Well, that's why you're really good at giving advice. You're not good at taking advice, but that's what, if they can't do, they teach. That's like your life motto, essentially.
What, I don't do the right things?
Well, like, you're good at telling everyone what to do, but then sometimes...
But I think makes me better because I'm so bad at life.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm like, oh no, I get it. Like, if you think you're bad, like, I'm way worse.
Yeah.
Like that's why I think
Yeah.
I am good, is because like...
Well, but that's what I mean, you know the answers.
Yeah.
You're just, like, not great at doing it. But, like, that's good because then if you just gave good advice and everyone was, like, doing it correctly...
Yeah.
But then there'd be obviously people that are like, I'm not doing it correctly yet, babe. I, like, recycled this 10 times. Like,
Yeah.
try this other way. Like, you'll have, like, 100 other ways of doing it.
Absolutely, because I do everything... I go back, I don't trust myself, and then I go back to my old ways. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know why I did this for so long. I've been in therapy. I cannot tell you how many workshops. I've done Rise of the Phoenix.
Actually, like, no one understands. Like, she actually quit her job just to basically work on herself. Like, no one has done this much work as much as Bronwyn O'Shea. And
no, I have done so much stuff to like every single thing you can think. What do you do in your spare time? Work on myself. How do you socialize? I go to breath work. I go to like nervous system training.
Every time someone's like, oh, so what did you do the other day? You're like, I sat in a fairy garden and meditated. Like...
I take a gummy and I go to a deep meditation for 4 hours. Weekly.
Yeah. No, daily. Not a gummy daily, but meditation for 4 hours daily.
So I'm very, very spiritual, but my issue is always people. I struggle with people. Mm-hmm. Like the spiritual world, I know it down pat. I get messages all the time and I understand them, but it's people I struggle with. And that is a bit hard when you're on Earth. Because
trying to find an earth mate.
Yeah, just even a one person, I just struggle with people. Like they are very exhausting for me. And for the longest time, I mean, I've lived in Newcastle for 3 years. I've made friends, but no one I would actually want to hang out with. And I've been like, part of it, I think I just needed to be by myself and I needed to figure myself out. And I think everyone needs a few years where they compress. Yeah. And they just need to go within and they need to look at their life and what they're doing. So I genuinely believe I was meant to be doing that. By the same token, I wanted to know why I struggled with people so much. And it's basically down to my nervous system was out of whack.
And you were in your head.
So no, my nervous system was in freeze, which is the lowest form. There's 3 forms. I don't know what the first one is. Second one is fight or flight. And then once you...
Isn't it happy? And then fight or flight, and then freeze?
Yeah. And so I was in fight or flight for quite a long time. After my divorce, I went in fight or flight for a few years. And then when I moved up to Newcastle, my life fell apart and I went into freeze. So I've been basically in freeze / compression.
What are the stages of what it looks like when you're happy? And like you said, like when the way you sit...
So when you're happy, your like shoulders are back and your head's up. So you're hearing like... You've got
messages.
Positive thoughts going through your head. But when you're in fight or flight, you kind of hunch and you walk on your heels. Yep. Really heavy and you're like rushing, like really busy. I've got to go here. I've got to go there. So much going on. When you go into freeze, you are very like like want to be on the couch, want to sit down. You don't want to be around people.
Protect your genitals.
Yeah. You just like all protection mode. So genitalia and like your chest, and you're shut off from the world. You just want to be. And when we're on our phones all the time, like say this is a phone, if we're like this, we're kind of putting ourselves in like fight or flight or freeze. Like we have to protect ourselves, and we spend a lot of time like this. We're sitting at computers, we're sitting like this. So we're kind of like conditioning. We've done that since 5 at school, sitting at a desk, hunched over, writing, head down. So our social conditioning has put us into this fight or flight kind of protection response, like you're not safe. On top of that, we used to be nose breathers. Now we've turned into mouth breathers. And then we do these shallow breathing. So we're kind of always scared and we just don't feel safe. You couple that with social media, the news, and then inflation, no one's ever going to buy a house again. And then it's kind of like, what's the point? Why are we all here? This is a waste of time. I mean, I don't vibe on that level. I don't spend a lot of time on social media, nor do I spend time on the news. But I still was in freeze through some traumatic events that happened to me in my past, which was the death of my son, the divorce of my marriage, and the abusive ex-husband put me
In freeze.
in freeze mode. And now that I've been working on my nervous system, I've been able to catch myself, open my chest, work on my breathing, and I do breath work now. So I feel like that has made a huge difference. But now I'm overwhelmed because it's like all coming out.
Yeah.
Like now I'm feeling it. Now I'm not in freeze anymore. When I was in freeze, it was easy. But now I'm feeling everything and I'm like, oh, this body.
Well, what about when, because you're always, oh my gosh, I'm bad. You're always thinking like positive thoughts all the time. You said that one time you were like, just let your ego come in, and what happened there?
So I'm a affirmations queen.
If you walk around your house, it's like the scene from Bruce Almighty, or where he has all these post-it notes all around his house with all the prayers. That's Bronwyn's affirmations.
It's like, I am wealthy, I am lovable, and I say that all the time, but I block my ego from doing
your negative thoughts.
Yeah, because I don't want to. I'm like, no, I don't want that. But then whatever persists, and it just makes it stronger. So I'm working really hard to resist it. But really, you're not supposed to be resisting it at all. You're just supposed to be letting it in. So I was like, fine, I'll let these ego thoughts in. And they were some of the nastiest things I've ever heard in my life. I was like, okay.
And that's been flying around your subby for a while, your subconscious.
Yeah, that's been circling in my head for a long time. And I realized that there was a deep-seated unworthiness there. And by me trying to be positive all the time was just trying to like bring in more negative, because I basically highlighted how much lack I had in my life. And by me saying no, I don't, and by focusing on this negative, you're not in the emotions, you're just in the head of the affirmations. And I was saying to you like last night, for me everything's energy, but what brings energy in to your life, like what attracts it, is the emotions that you give it. So if you're trying to push away all this stuff, you don't just push away one aspect of your life, you push away every aspect of your life.
So if a negative thought comes in, you should say, no, I don't feel like that, or like don't give it emotion so that it
just
doesn't get charged.
Just let it in and just observe it and be like, okay, but I don't believe it, but okay.
Yeah.
Like it's going to come in, it can come in, but I'm not going to give it any emotions.
Yeah, by like rejecting it, and you sort of gave it emotion.
Well, you're giving it fear because you're rejecting it. So you're giving it fear, which is the lowest vibration you can give anything. And it keeps you in a low vibration, and you can't attract anything. You can't attract wealth, love, or anything when you're sitting in a vibration of fear. So I just let it go, and I let it come in, I let it go out. And it's been really difficult just physically just letting things in and out. But it has been more peaceful. But my brain, when you stop using a muscle and it relaxes, it's like tired because it's like, oh my God, I've been working so hard.
Do you reckon that's why you have tired
Yeah,
eyes?
I think that's why I've got tired eyes and I've got headaches, is because my brain's finally being switched off, and it's like we were going too hard there.
Yeah, it's on overdrive.
And now that I've worked out, it literally wasn't my affirmation. It wasn't that I was manifesting. It wasn't my affirmations. It wasn't the therapy. It wasn't any of that stuff. It was just my nervous system was out. And that's why I couldn't feel safe, so I couldn't attract anything of a high vibration, which my life has probably been a big fat flop-tina. Well, it's not a flop-tina, because I'm where I'm meant to be,
Yeah.
but like not where
Yeah.
my vision board is. No, but you have to go through those things. Like, not every phase of your life is going to be like,
No.
oh, the dreams are coming true every day.
Even you were saying that you were getting like messages that were like, Bronwyn, you've like moved so much in the past 6 months. And
I've done more growth in the last 6 months than I've done probably in the last 10 years.
I feel like I've done more growth in the past like 3 weeks, past year.
Yeah, you do seem different. Like you seem more like content in yourself. Like you're like, okay, things are starting to make sense. Whereas before you're always like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like you used to say that a lot. I don't get it.
Yeah. Guess what? It's fine, guys. If you don't get it, you'll get it. It's like when people are like, don't worry, when the manifestations don't work, that will work, don't worry.
I think, you know, I love manifesting and all that stuff, but I do think there's too much pressure on it working, like, for good.
Definitely.
And I don't think there's enough out there to say, like, you aren't going to be able to bring in the car and the house and the love and all that stuff at all times of your life. It's literally impossible. You can't grow, evolve as a person and manifest everything you want if you're releasing things from your past, or if you're in a transformation period. Like, I just think there needs to be more space for like the spiritual growth within a person, because if we're talking about we're spiritual beings having an earth experience, who fucking cares what kind of car we have?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's ultimately what we're here for. We're here for peace. And like lately, although it's difficult, I do feel like I'm getting more and more peace in my life. Just go through life, and when you feel things, allow yourself to feel it so you can move on to the next thing, instead of being like, no manifesting, no high vibrations.
Yeah.
And I was in a situation in the last few weeks where I was in a job interview, and this guy was just felt off. I felt like he kept saying things like, you're not answering the question, and he just made me feel real uncomfortable, and I felt my whole body just shut down to the point where I'm like, I couldn't even talk.
Yeah.
You know when you feel that, where you just like...
You don't even, you'll freeze, you like don't know what to say.
Well, it's like everything I say, you say is wrong.
Yeah.
So why am I talking?
Yeah.
Like, my body was just like, we're leaving now.
Yeah, no, and the question was like, why have you skipped jobs? And you're like, oh, I do a lot of contract work. And he's like, you're not answering the question. You're like...
And he's like, how do you deal with conflict? And I was like, you know, try to come up with a solution of how we can get back to the project. And he's like, you're not really answering the question.
And it's like, okay, what I think I should do is I should schedule a meeting with them, vibe check how they are, and then we'll sit on it for like 4 hours, and then might get back to work.
But like, how I deal with conflict and how you deal with conflict are going to be different, but doesn't mean I'm not answering the question.
Yeah, you just disagree with me.
Yeah.
Just say that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, I want you to answer how I think I should think you should answer.
And that's like, how it felt. And I think that's why my body went into freeze.
But I don't know why, as if you're in an interview, why would you want someone to work if they're not working?
Yeah.
Like, why would you want someone to like, why would you encourage them to answer differently if they didn't answer right the first time? Like, then just leave it. What's the big deal? Move on. And then
the recruiter gave me this feedback, and it was the worst.
She got feedback from a job interview, like
40 minutes.
Actual feedback.
Just a one interview kind of thing. I've recruited in the past. And if someone doesn't work, it's like, yeah, you're not a fit for the business. Like,
sorry.
I'm sure there's
other jobs. I'm not going to respond to you, actually.
There's other jobs out there. I'm sure you're better suited for. Everyone, there's a job for everybody.
Yeah.
And just because you not get one job, it doesn't mean that there's not other jobs out there. But the read I got from this recruiter, they were like, you did no research on the business. You made out like everything in your past jobs were everyone else's fault. You don't know anything about what you're talking about. You have no knowledge on a payroll, which I've done for 17 years, you know, a little bit about awards, and that's about it. Like, really nasty.
So weird. And also, like, when they were saying you weren't researching the company and stuff like that, like, you researched it, they weren't talking to you about what they were doing.
And they told me what the company did, and I didn't even know what they did.
And then you were like, who are your competitors? And they're like, the big four. And you're like, the banks. And I was like, do you know who the big four are? I'm like, who the fuck are the big four? And they're like, they're four accounting firms. I'm like, who the fuck are they?
I have no idea. He told me, and I was like, I still don't know. Sounds like flop to me. Sounds like information I don't need to know. Like, if it's not something I'm doing in my everyday life, or even like within once a month, my brain's not remembering. I don't give a shit what this...
And also he's like, you chose, like, you didn't like, you made everything about everyone else's, like, you deflected all your past jobs and made it everyone else's problem. You loved your last boss.
Yeah, and I said
and your
that.
boss before that as well, you liked as well. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that was so weird.
There was other things that happened, but I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, this is some of the things that happened, but they were all contract jobs, so we finished.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is what went well, this is what didn't go well, and then the contract ended, and then I left.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. And, like, I'm implementing a system. What am I going to do? Sit on my ass? Like, it's done. The work is done.
They're difficult to do. Like, they're very exhausting. Things happen. Things go wrong. Things go right. Like, that's just the nature of the beast. But I'm going to talk about it, be honest with you. And if you go, oh, she's not a fit for us, we don't want someone like that, cool.
Yeah, then I'm not a fit for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I found that really odd. That I was treated so badly. But I mean, I think the universe is like, Bronnie...
Oh, yeah, no, it's not that big of a deal. Like, as in, like...
The universe is like, we're not going in this direction anymore.
It's just crazy that you got feedback from I've literally... If someone's not getting the job, I don't even respond to them. Like, sorry, like, if you don't get a message, yeah, you didn't get the job. I've never sat and, like, taken 10 to 15 minutes to, like, respond on how shit you were.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's really horrible.
That's insane.
I think she was a pick-me.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think she was really rude. I think she was projecting her own insecurities onto me. I mean, I took it as a compliment, like I do always. Like, obviously she's, like, jelly of my mullet.
Yeah, that's what I was like. You're like, I actually think she's jealous. I'm like, I think it's definitely the mullet.
She's like, oh, look at this cool chick who knows stuff. Oh, we can't let her know that. That's not a good thing. No. And I remember back in the old days when I first started in corporate world, women used to be horrible.
The work culture, the office culture is insane.
But it was way worse. Like, it's gotten a lot better. But when I started, like, this woman told me, because my daughter was like 3 at the time, and I went back to work. And she was like, oh, when I had my children, I made sure I stayed at home with them. And I only went back to work when they went to high school. Like...
No, but the office culture of, like, when people either had their first baby or they're being pregnant or whatever, is just, like, that's the only topic of conversation that people will ever discuss with you. Like, if you're actually actively pregnant at work, that's the only thing people ever talk about is your pregnancy. And then when you've just had a baby, they'll critique your parenting.
Well, I told a construction firm in Sydney I was working at the time that I was pregnant. I had a performance review 2 weeks before. Everything was fine. Then I told them I was pregnant. Then a week later, they had issues with my performance. I spoke to a lawyer. They were like, they're going to performance manage you out. Get stress leave from your doctor. I got a lawyer. I fought it from the time I was 2 months pregnant to a week before I gave birth to my son.
Oh my gosh.
I went into mediation. I broke even, and they had a superannuation company that I worked with, and they paid me out the salary, and they paid for my, like, lawyer fees or whatever. And they said to me, if you want to have your 5 minutes in court, we'll go there. The HR woman was a mother. Then they were like, we'll give you a reference and we'll say that you worked for us, and we're not going to say anything bad about you. Then I was going for jobs. My son died when he was 5 months old, the same son I was pregnant with when I fought this whole court case.
That's insane.
Then I was going for job interviews, and she was my reference, and she was telling everyone I left because I had a baby. But I didn't tell anyone I'd had a baby because...
It died.
He was dead. And this recruiter was like, I'm really confused. This woman told me you have a baby. and just needed to get a bit of clarity. And then I actually had to call up the HR manager and say, can you stop telling people I've had a baby because he died?
What did she say?
She goes, can I just ask what he died of? Because she knew I was going through stress the whole pregnancy.
Basically blaming you for your baby dying.
No, but she was like trying to work out what happened. Like, was it due to the stress? Like, was it her fault? Like,
no, you should have said yeah.
And I said it was Sid's.
But like, also, how fucking dare you ask someone that fucking question? Sorry, is this about you?
She made it all about her.
That's insane.
And
but she's also like, well, you shouldn't have done that. Well, you shouldn't have done that because your baby died. You shouldn't have gone through all that stress. You should know that you were pregnant.
Oh, there was a lot of... And then I just said, oh, he died of SIDS. And can you please stop telling people?
What did she say? Did she say sorry?
Yeah, as a mother, I'm so sorry to hear about that.
As a mother, suck my ass, honestly.
And she still works for this company in Sydney.
We should leave her a Google. What's her full name? We'll link her LinkedIn down below. Everyone leave her comments on her LinkedIn.
But yeah, and when I was... Because at the time, the guys on site used to like slap my ass.
Yeah.
And they would just say like all these horrible stuff. So when I was going through it, I just let everything out. And they did their own internal review. And obviously they were like, nothing happened.
That's insane.
And they called me a liar.
And like, they know. They are in construction. Other men slap other men's asses. Like, it's insane over there. It's disgusting. Because you work on site. Like, she worked on site. She didn't work in the office.
It's gotten a lot better. Like, it has definitely. But at that time, it was out of control. Yeah. When I was younger.
That's disgusting.
And they basically called me a liar. The whole thing was just like... there's a lot more rights now. But that's why I think I've struggled with coming forward with what's happening with my current ex-husband and everything that's happened. Because in the past, when I've come forward, when things have gone wrong, everyone's just like, you're lying.
Yeah.
And so I just stopped saying anything anymore. But then I bottle it all up inside, and then I've done havoc to my nervous system.
Because also, like, the laws and the ethics around, like, relationships and, like, what's good of relationship and what's a bad relationship, like, they're so blurred.
Yeah.
And especially when, like, if you had a bad relationship with someone that you actually haven't even been with for the past 8 years, and he still treats you like garbage. Yeah. Like, where's the line? Where's the line? Apologies for the abrupt ending of this podcast, but we did experience some audio issues towards the end of this episode, and the audio was unfortunately unsalvageable. I do have like a backup microphone, but that didn't even work either. Rude. But that's okay. We will again link the people that we recommended to have a look at. Megan, who does breath work, nervous system work. She has an ebook. Leave her link down below. She's really good. And I'll also leave the link to Red Nose Australia, which is information for anyone that has lost a child, for friends and family, and that want free counselling. They have 24-hour call support and advice on anything. So yeah, thank you all so much for listening. We will see you in the next episode next week. Thank you. Love you. We're back.